In this video, I'm going to show you how to install this retractable awning onto a house, and this brand is ALEKO. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh, and it's all about DIY to save a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. So we got a lot to do today, so let's get started. If you're interested in the exact awning that I'm installing in this video, I placed a link in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. As you can see, I got all of the parts unpackaged and laid out according to their make. First, going to assemble the fabric roller, and we got the two couplings here, and it's going to go in each end of the center, and then the end sections are going to fit onto that. And you can tell the end sections because you won't have these screw holes at each end, you'll just have them on one end. So that's how you're going to tell the difference. So we're going to put this together first. As you can see, I have the torsion bars laid out, and I'm going to show you how to connect them. Something we noticed, pay attention to these bolts and make sure they're all facing the same way. This one's pointing up, this one's pointing up, and this one over here is pointing up because they have to be facing the same direction whenever it's installed onto the canopy. So we're going to put it together as it is. And another important thing, don't cut this plastic yet. If you do, these will spring open. I actually did that on the one down there, and it will fling open real fast. So you got to watch that. So now we're going to put it together in this orientation. In order to connect the torsion bars, we have the connectors for each joint, and we also have 8 nuts and bolts. There's going to be 4 at each joint, and I got a 10mm socket and a 10mm wrench in order to tighten up the nuts and bolts. Now going to put together the front bar, and with the front bar it was similar to the roller. We got our simple number 2 Phillips screws, and we got our couplings here, and then we got the center one that has the holes on each end, and the ends have the holes on the one end, and then the very ends don't have any holes. So we're going to put this together now. I now have the Q part and then the P part, and we're going to slide the Q part in here like so. And this can be a little finicky. And now we're going to slide the P part before we make this connection. And this is the middle section here, and then we're going to put this together now. After placing those pieces together, we then took the canopy and laid it to where the bottom is facing up, and then the valance beside it. For this part, you're going to have 3 different cords. We're going to have 2 thick cords and then 1 thin cord. The 1 thin cord is going to go on one side of the canopy. One of the thick cords goes on the other, and then this thick cord is going to be for the valance. So we're going to fish all these through here. I'm here on the side of the canopy with the small cord, and I also have the unfinished side of the canopy, what's going to be underneath of the canopy once it's installed. And then we're going to slide it into the roller, into this groove, using this small cord. We're now just going to roll it up to where the top side is going to be rolled on top of the roll. I now have the front bar, and we're going to slide this part of the canopy right into this part of the front bar. We noticed this slides pretty good until you hit a seam in the canopy, then it takes a little finessing. I'm now going to take the valance and place it right through this end of the front bar. And now you want to make sure this is oriented correctly. Again, this is the unfinished side, or the part that's going to be at the underside, and it's going to be facing down. I'm going to take a pair of wire cutters and cut the end of this cord off that's sticking out past the canopy. And then I'm going to install this end cap with this little metal axle to finish off this edge. We're now going to put together what's called the cassette. It's going to house the canopy. And if you notice that post from the part I just installed, it's going to go inside of this cassette and go right into this hole. So we got to start this piece from this end. At each joint of the cassette, we're going to use the Allen screws that have the nuts on them. And we're going to have to line everything up here together like so. And then we're going to have to place our Allen screw through there along with our nut on the other side. I'm now going to take an Allen wrench and tighten up that Allen screw. And you can see it draw it together well. Now I'm going to torque it down a little more. And I'm now going to do one on this side. There's two at each joint, it looks like. All right, I'm now going to do that to the other joint. I'm now going to take the electric motor and slide it right into the other end of the canopy. I now have this cord flipped over the side here. We're going to push this together. In order to get this to line up properly, I did have to turn the hand crank manually by hand in order to spin the canopy to go together properly. I'm now going to install these 4 screws into each one of these holes, then into the canopy cassette. I'm on the other side of the awning now, and I'm going to install this bracket on the side of this cassette. And this is going to require 2 bolts, and you're going to need a socket to tighten them up, and they will go right through the bracket and directly into the cassette. I'm first going to hand thread them in and then tighten them up. We're now going to install the torsion bars onto the canopy, and we're going to do that by sliding this square end while these are laying down and the torsion bars are facing up, and slide it right into that square hole. Then we're going to have to slide in all the way. All right, now we got to go to the other end to slide it to even it up. Now this end we're going to pull back and slide right into this square hole. And we're going to flush that up. I'm now going to take my Allen key and tighten up this Allen screw. And do the same to the other side. They sent 3 LED light strips and they all plug into each other. You want to make sure you put this male end facing the female end of the motor here. So it's just going to plug in to power the lights. And they're going to stick right here in this channel. Then after we stick them in there, we're just going to snap these covers on to protect the lights. It's a pretty simple process here. On each end of the front bar, we need 3 pieces. We need the cap that's going to go to the end of this, and this part, and this part. So we'll slide the peg in first, and then we slide this part in next. On this end, we got to put in this part that stops the fabric from sliding out. So we're going to push that in and tighten it up with this Phillips screwdriver. Then we're going to put our cap on. Do that to the other side. At each joint where the cassette comes together, you can see this groove. This is where this bracket gets installed. And we're going to need 2 different size Allen wrenches here. And then these 2 bolts are going to be for these 2 holes. And then we got this big Allen bolt that goes through the top and threads into the bottom of that bracket. So we're going to install this now. Now we do the other joint. In order to line up these torsion bars with these bolts, we got to take this bolt off and then pivot this arm out until it lines up with that bolt. So we're going to flex this over and line it right up with it. Then we replace the nut on, and then we tighten it up with a 3/4 inch socket. And we do this to all 3 of them. Now that that's connected with this bolt, we can now cut this plastic. Now this is being held, so there's tension on this tension bar. So we can cut this, but just be very careful and stand back out of the path that it might fly out, because for some reason it doesn't hold here, you don't want to get hit by this bar. Very important. So now we're going to cut this off each of them. Right here is where the edge of the awning is going to be. So we're going to come 6 inches in order to mount our first bracket. And we're just going to use the mortar joint as our level line. So if you don't have brick joints to go off of, you can always chalk a line and use a level or something of that nature. So I'm going to hold this bracket up here, and the bottom hole is going to be that mortar joint. And then I'm going to use the torpedo level just to plumb it up, just to make sure we're plumb. So that looks good. So we're just going to mark the center of where we got to drill. So we just got to drill out each one of these marks, and we got to use a 16mm masonry bit to do that. I got a rotary hammer drill here, and this is a depth stop of 4 inches, so we don't want to go any deeper than 4 inches. And using the rotary hammer drill, you really should use ear protection, eye protection, and even a respirator. I'm now going to install these anchor bolts, and these were supplied with the awning, and they're actually just going to go right into these holes. And I got to take this nut off first. So they're going to slide right in there like so. Now I'm going to install the bracket onto those bolts. So we're going to place it right over them like so. Then we're going to place our washer, our lock washer, and then the nut. And I'm now going to take a 3/4 inch socket and tighten up that bolt. And do the same to the lower one. I'm now going to take the awning and put it on top of a drywall lift that I have. Now, if you don't have a drywall lift, you're going to have to get multiple people and step ladders or ladders. So for us, we're going to do it that route, so we're going to carry it over now. We place the awning on top of the drywall lift so that the bracket is facing the house, and then we use duct tape to tape it right to the bar so that way it doesn't slide off for extra security. With the lift holding the awning into place, we got it positioned into the brackets. Now we just got to put the bolts that will hold the awning to the bracket. I'm now going to take the Allen bolt and nut and install it to hold the awning onto the bracket. And do that to each bracket. I got the cord that goes up to the motor, and I'm going to plug it into a nearby receptacle, and I have one right here. With the awning closed, I'm going to move these plastic pegs and slide them over so that these don't jump up whenever it's shut all the way. So about right there, and I'm just going to tighten that down. And we'll see how those work whenever we're all the way shut. In order to adjust the pitch, you need to screw this Allen screw in or out in order to get the pitch you want. And then we got to loosen up this nut, and then it's going to allow us to pivot it whichever angle we want. And also, don't forget to put your cap here on the end of this section to finish that edge. I'm now going to loosen that nut up with 11/16 socket. We got to do that to all 3 of these brackets. All right, we're cranking it out, and as you can see, we need to adjust the angle to be not so steep. So we're going to tighten up those Allen screws. All right, we're just going to tighten up the Allen screw to where we want it and tighten up our bolt. Here's the remote that came with the unit. We have the controls here to turn the lights on, then retract and contract the awning. So we're first going to contract the awning out from the house. And then as you can see, it's starting to come out, but it doesn't fully extend yet until we make some adjustments. So it looks like it's working really smooth, no issues, and it stops right there. So now we need to make some adjustments. If you do gotta make adjustments, you have them right there on the motor. If you don't want to use the remote option, or for some reason your motor's not working or something of that nature, you simply can use the hand crank feature. So it just hooks onto where the motor is. You can crank it in and out that way. And you definitely want to make sure you don't overextend this thing or contract it in too much, because it can damage the unit. So you want to be careful with that. This is what the LED lights look like. Now it's daytime right now. Now if it was nighttime, they'd be extremely bright, I'm sure. Looking at them, it looks like several lumens there. Then if we tap the button and we'll turn it off, there you can see they faded right out. So the lights are probably a really good feature to have on an awning. If you're wondering how I really feel about this awning installation, it wasn't easy. It took a lot of work. In fact, it took us about a total of 8+ hours to get this done. The instructions that it came with were not very easy to follow. So that's just something to keep in mind. So definitely you're going to have patience if you're going to be doing this job with a helper. And as far as build quality goes, you know, you get what you pay for. It's definitely not the best build quality, but again, for $1,000 for a 20-foot awning, you're definitely getting a great value. And if you want to see a video on how to build a garage, check out this video. It'll help you out.